Ooh, that's still very dark. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. Hope you all are doing well. Let's see here who we got. We got Really Frank. Thanks so much for stopping by. And Fiol with the lurk. No worries, mate. Uni comes first, all things considered.
Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
Oh, that's a fantastic name. Cenobite OffSec. That is so cool. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the lab. Oh my goodness. So, we got some stuff to cover. Let's see here. Let me make sure. Hello, Tilly. Would you like to say hello to the group? Ah. Aha. We have found a Tilly. Tilly has been very confused lately because there have been a lot of boxes and such moving in and out of the house. I'm not going anywhere. It's just furniture boxes, just furniture being set up and whatnot. Oh boy! Needless to say, it has confused her. I think she thinks that we're going somewhere, but we're not going anywhere. Hello, Tilly. Are you quite cozy down there? Oh, I feel bad. I wanted to get CatCam back up and running, but the problem with CatCam, and I just had to explain this to somebody that I don't think is on the stream. CatCam is really hard to do for me because I don't really have like a dedicated spot that a cat would stay. So really, what we need to do is we need to just make a drone that will follow those cats around. So anytime that you see CatCam, you just see this tiny little drone following one of the cats, whichever one would be cooperative enough to hear a around them all bloody day. Would you be that person? I don't know that I'd be that person. So I'm noticing that my hair do be not doing what I wanted to do, but that's all right. That's not why y'all are here. Hair tips with Ninja Labs. That would be kind of interesting, actually. Medgelab salon wing. It's like a salon attached to the lab. Got people there that'll style your hair, make you look real good. Give you the Witcher fade. Ooh. All right, let's see here. Let's get Yoldi code back up here. I genuinely wish that I could make the last follower label work. Sad day. So where last we left off, we were working on polls for the bot, which, let's see here. How far did I get with the polls? I don't think I made it very far. Yeah. So we were starting to work on the HTTP infrastructure. Well, HTTP infrastructure. The bits and bobs necessary to create the polls. But we did not get through any of this. So, okay. So for anybody that may be tuning in for the first time, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing? That was very aggressive. Hey. We are building a Twitch bot in Go, and right now we're working on adding a poll functionality. Initially, just as an MVP, the poll is just going to be a poll that exists in the chat, but eventually I want to have some type of, it'll be on this side, some type of on-screen layout thing that will pop up to be, hey, this is a poll that's running, and then have some like updating bars and whatnot. We'll get there. Go mod init cat tracker. I actually do have, or at least I think I still have, it would be somewhere over there, what was it, a Parrot Bebop drone? I think it was. Yeah, I think it was the Bebop. It's kind of a big drone, so it's not exactly what one would consider to be convenient. And I think if that thing was following the cats around, either the cats would just lose their shit or I would break some shit. One of the two would absolutely happen. But, ooh, hang on. That's interesting. Is that today? Oh, yay. Oh boy. More furniture. Cool. All right. So we're just gonna yeet that off into the abyss, and we're gonna focus. Allegedly. So also as a heads up for today, I think I will have to cut it at about 9:30 today. I wanted to do something a little bit longer, but we're gonna be having lunch with my great grandmother today, so need some time to prep. All right, so we've got now. If I'm remembering correctly, which I'm probably not, when we were looking at the polls, there were a couple of things that I needed to figure out. Number one was, how do I start the polls, which we were looking at as part of the server, I think it was. Yes. So creating the poll right now is a HTTP handler, which does some things. If that fails, we do a thing. And then this is where we left off. So we needed a direct line into the bot. And I think that's where I wanted to put a lot of the state. Yeah. So I was thinking the bot could handle the poll, or the bot would hold the state of the poll, whether or not a poll is running or not. And then we would need to figure out how we route events. Because right now, we just have a slice of handlers and we don't really have any ideation of them. Or not ideation, delineation for them. Yeah, because they're just a consumer does a thing, they've got a channel, and all we're really doing is being like, hey, we're gonna give you some stuff. Aha. We're gonna give you some messages. Specifically, we're giving you event messages. So, there's technically a way to make the existing bot events work. So if I'm looking at this properly, so we would have a type, which a new type here could just be a poll answer, perhaps? Something like poll answer. And then for poll answer, so an event would be type poll answer. Sender would be the user that sent that chatted in stream, because that was how we were theorizing that we would actually collect answers to polls, is that users would or viewers would effectively just type in chat and say, like, if you have 3 options, 1, 2, 3, they would just chat in stream 1, 2, or 3. So we would need to track the sender, though, because we would want to prevent people from being able to just spam the chat with 3, and then 3 suddenly wins. Make the polls a little bit smaller, all things considered. All right. So sender would be the person that sent it. The message would be effectively what they voted for. And the assumption would be that they would have to, I would either have to do, like, you have to just say the number, and then the message parsing is really easy. Enforce a rule and not have to write as much in the tool. That would be pretty cool. Wow, that was a triple rhyme. I didn't mean to do that. Hi. Yeah, no, that would actually work. That would actually work quite well. Yep, all right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. Yoink. Plonk. And then all of this, let's see here. So we're gonna change all of that from raid to poll to G. And then new poll event is a poll answer. Same thing for this one. Now, poll event is poll event. So that gives us at least a way to hook into the existing event stream, because right now we have come back here. In the bot we have a selection of handlers. These handlers are really just functions that take an event, and then there's a message channel, and in that message channel we send them messages, say, hey, here's the thing for you to process potentially. Oh, that's right. So we don't do routing at the bot level. We do routing at the handler level. That's right. I was tempted to change that just so I didn't have to add if is certain type of event everywhere in the code, but meh. So how do we get poll events to the poll handler? We just send them. I think we will need. I think we will need some function. Send event sends that to write enabled clients. No. Effectively, we need a way to send a message to bot.events, which is kind of sort of yeah, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. So bot is a bot. The bot is a bot. What a surprise. Is anybody surprised? Probably not. Let's see here. We want to what would I call this? Because we already have a send event. Receive event? Effectively, what we're doing is we are. Oh, geez. One day I want to fix that. Receive event. Receive event is a more direct way of sending sending an event to internal handlers. Yes, something like that. So then more or less what we would be doing is we would be queuing onto the channel bot.events send DVD, right? That is very confusing considering. Oh wait, no, we do already have receive event. Derp. I literally had to look maybe a couple more lines down. Maybe. What is this? We are sending using a receive method. I know. Technically, so what it is it's having the bot receive an event is the idea. Because I don't expose bot.events as a channel. Well, actually, I guess I technically do. Do I do that? The original idea was send event will send that event out. And then receive event is I am effectively injecting, yeah. It's a way for handlers to requeue events to be processed. Now the problem is that right now this is an unexported function, so I think I'm gonna have to fix that. Or no, because I would have access to the bot. No. I was going back and forth on whether I wanted to rename this to a capital receive, but I'll probably go back and forth on the name of that function for a good while. Why does that look wrong to me? Like, now my eyes are doing that thing where they're looking at a word that they've seen many times before. And they're like, that's not how you spell it. But it's not the other way around. Code to directly queue events to be processed. Example would be alias commands. True. Yeah, what would I want to call that? Yeah. Inject is kind of sort of making sense to me. What's one of the hardest things to do in software? Name things. I guess that would technically be true. Technically, receive event is the same thing, though. Like, the bot is receiving an event, and that event is then going to be broadcasted to its handlers to be processed. I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone for now. We'll come back to it at some point. Probably. But what the hell? Don't ask again. Huh, apparently if you double tap control, that brings up dictation? Question mark? Hello, Tilly. She's just sitting on the floor staring at me as if I've done something wrong, which I probably have. Let's see here. So if we have this, then in server, yes. So here, we would want to say if s.bot. Is poll running. So here, this function doesn't exist, obviously, but we would want to do a s.write error. So here we do w error code 400. Nah, 400 wouldn't really make sense. 409 would probably make sense. Naming can be solved by not having a lot of functions. I like that. I like that. Poll already running. Something like that. Something like that. Like that. You ever notice how when you're really tired, or is this just me? When I'm really tired, I shouldn't call this as this is a normal thing. When I'm really tired, I find myself repeating small segments of a sentence. And I'm trying to figure out why. Or what I should say, I repeat certain segments of a sentence in other sentences. So, like that. Repeating that in multiple sentences over and over and over. Human mind is weird. And yet the human mind created this. Can we really blame them? Let's see here. So in this case, this is a return case. So we have inside of this server struct, we have two functions, write JSON, which is more of a success. Technically it's used as a success, it's just a wrapper around adding a status code, adding the content type application JSON to the headers, and then JSON encoding a struct of some kind. Right, error is just a specialized form of this that takes the same writer and status code, but it formulates it into this nice, consistent error struct. And for my purposes, it's just show me the message. So w.409 would technically 409, by the way, is HTTP 409 is conflict. Okay, I don't like being pedantic about these things. HTTP 409 conflict indicates a request conflicts with the current state of a target resource. So they most likely occur in puts. In this particular case, it's kind of sort of true, I think. But conflict indicates that there's nothing wrong with the response itself, the response body, but in this case, it's considered to be in conflict because you're trying to create a poll, but a poll is already running. So, HTTP 409. A lot of places will just do 400. They'll just do 400, and then the message will be error poll already running. Honestly, I don't really care. The only reason that different status codes are in my mind is because at work, they really like to have different status codes. They like to be pedantic about the status codes. All right, so we need this is poll running. So let's go back to the bot real quick. And let's put this. Is there any reason for this to be? Not particularly. Okay, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna move this down here. What I was kind of doing there was I was looking at the ordering of the code and going, does that make sense? Why would that make sense? I don't think it makes sense. So we got register client. I think register handler also needs to be up there. I'm just noticing that the way that I've organized this code is a little wonky. Yeah. That makes my brain a little more... Well, let's also put this up here. New start. Yes, I am one of those people that reorganizes the code purely because reorganizing the code in the format of how I actually consume it. And all of this started because I was trying to figure out where do I put the is poll running. I put it down here. Let's see here. When I write Go code, I write large function bodies and only create other functions when I need to dedupe functionality. That's really fair. Honestly, really fair. There was, oh geez, who was it? I was reminded that there is a stigma around large functions. And to be honest, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but... Doop. Let me do this. Checks if a poll is currently active. There we go. Philosophical discussion inbound. I never really understood why people were so averse to large functions, and they weren't instead averse to people making unnecessarily large functions. Which I guess is kind of the thing that they're trying to poke at, is to give people the muscle memory of when a particular function is doing too much, I guess. Because I will give them that. I will give the people that are advocates for smaller functions, they're usually coming from a place of PTSD. Because that one person that writes the one method that's like 500 lines long, and it's 500 lines long because they put way too much logic into one function. And most of the time it is duplicated logic. So I think that's where they're coming from, but it's the same thing that I think we've talked about a number of times on the lab, which is like, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you think that everybody does that, and every giant function is bad, then you're going to apply that same dogma to every single piece of code, regardless of whether it actually makes sense or not. And I think that there are some functions that are just long by nature. They're long either because the logic is long, the business logic itself is long. They're long because the language doesn't really do these fancy things to make it nice and easy. Sometimes it just happens. And I think the thing that's hilarious is when I see like linters that have your function should be no larger than X number of lines. First of all, if you're being that prescriptive about the size of a function, I think your PTSD may have gone just a little too far. Or you read a blog post that said that 50 lines was the maximum that every function should be from somebody that you respect, and now you're like, well, why should I challenge that? But seeing linters error code out or error builds out because they pass 50 lines, and then you just see a bunch of like comments along the function that's just like, linter ignore body size. It's like, there's a trend where smaller functions is easier to understand. Trying to understand what something does by jumping around in the code is unhelpful. Exactly. Actually, I had that discussion at work not too long ago. My absolute pet peeve is utility functions. Or I should say utility files. Again, PTSD. But utility files that have become giant swaths of blah. It's like, we have this function and 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 this function. Those functions belong somewhere. But because you couldn't figure out where they belonged, you put them into a function called utils. And to be fair, there are utils. There are utility functions. Date shifting, put that into date utils. Oh. Hashing, put that into hash utils. I am not against util files, I'm against one giant util file. But the funny thing is that whenever there's a giant util file, to that comment, when there's a giant util file and then a bunch of code is using that util file, what I find myself doing is exactly that. I'm bouncing back and forth between the same two files over and over again, and it makes me go, why isn't this logic just in here? It belongs over here, so why is it over there? Code organization. I can't really be too harsh though on people that don't know, because I used to be one of those people that was like, I don't understand how to organize this code. So like, I want to look for the best practices. I want to look for the people that have done this before and see what their wisdom is. And then we end up with the Rails style of code organization. Or the, what was it? Go standard layout. Oh, do we remember this? Do we remember this bullshit? This is what happens. This is what happens. Yeet. Eat that out of existence. All right. Back from philosophy. You do. You monster. Nah. He's all good. The question, though, is that are those utils genuinely generic utils? If they're genuinely generic utils and they don't really belong in a particular file, it's fine. Just like my PTSD, util classes are fine. As long as they are genuinely generic and they don't really belong anywhere, you put them in a utils. But if they could belong somewhere... Pedanticism. All right, so check if the poll is already running. If yes, turn there. Otherwise, we need to write the poll to cache, trigger the bot into poll mode, and off we go. So there's a couple of things that are missing here. Number one, we're missing a cache, which I do recall wanting to look into changing this from a viewer metric store cache to just a cache. And if I did that, okay, let's see here. I kind of, actually, instead of calling it cache, I do want to call this just store. Store implies that it is a place to store things. And in this case, it's a cache. And then... data store. Sure. Why not? And then the thought is that I can just reuse the server's cache as a more or less a shared dependency. And I can store data there. So post to polls creates the poll. Now, how am I going? How am I going to store answers? We could map this out. So where my brain is kind of going right now. So we're gonna have a create poll, but then we're also going to have a what is more or less a poll answer. Now, poll answer is not going to happen over HTTP though, so this is actually something that I don't have to worry about here. So we've got that part, so now we need this part. So we would do s.bot.start poll, but we would also do s.store.put. Ooh, but put here is just a string. Damn. Okay. Okay. So persistable. Persistable is a map of string entry. Entry is keys and values of type string. I think somebody commented a while ago. They commented about how me creating the persistable cache was more or less just rebuilding Redis from the ground up. They're not technically wrong. The more that I look at it, it is Redis-esque. Yeah, okay. So here where my brain went is that I was thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna have a cache. So, or I'm gonna have an entry in the cache. So what does that entry look like? Because what I need to do is I basically need to collect poll results, and I need to store those poll results somewhere. That somewhere would ideally be a cache, specifically a persistable cache, so that if things go wrong, we can just reload the poll back to current poll state and yada yada yada. The challenge, though, is that what I was thinking of doing was something like struct, or maybe not struct. In this case, it would just have to be it would probably just be an array of stuff, or a slice of stuff. So it'd be like a user votes 1, 2, 1, 1, 3. So it looks something like this. Thing is, though, is that the poll doesn't support that, or the cache doesn't support that. The cache doesn't support complex data types as values. It only supports strings. So I could just do a comma-separated list, I suppose. Yeah, I could just do a comma-separated list. But Redis is a separate process, so it adds complexity? Exactly. Again, one of the reasons why somebody asks, like, why aren't you just using Redis or Postgres or something for this bot? And the short answer is complexity. Yeet complexity as much as humanly possible. Let's see here. Don't need to mess with that. Okay. So, yeah, I guess we could just do that. So here, the key, and I do need, Is there a way for me to share a key? I think the answer is no. Because I'm going to have store.put here. But then in the handler, in the bot handler, I'm going to do a get, same key, store, same key. It's all right. I was trying to think if I could abstract it somewhere, but meh, it's okay. Let's do this. Let's go. I'm also noticing that we're probably going to need to have a clear. Something like this. Technically, clear is just put to that key an empty string. But I kind of like that being an explicit thing. So let's do this. Let's add this to this. This is going to be clear. And this can technically error out. Entry, okay, equals cache.cache key. Although, well, I don't think this should error. I don't think this should error at all. If not, okay. Return. Otherwise, actually, in this case, we don't care about entry. Otherwise, we say cache.cache key equals or no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. Just do cache.put. cache.put key empty string. It's literally just an abstraction over put empty string into the cache. And I am kind of sort of giving me a little bit of buffer as to if I changed that contract to where it doesn't have to be a string. I'm giving myself a little bit of buffer, but yeah. Clear is a helper function to clear out a given key if present. And something like that. Boop. So now that we have that, we need to go into the bot and is poll running? And now we're going to have a start poll. And we'll do this as this can error out because if you don't check ahead of time, if bot dot is poll running, then we return errors dot new poll already running. Otherwise, we say bot dot poll running was true, return nil. So right now, that's really all that this is doing. And the bot returns error if poll already running. So that does technically mean that we could condense. So we don't actually need the is poll running. We could condense the server code. Thinking something like this. Nah, because we have the store.put. Yeah, I don't think that would make a lot of sense. Now this is a metrics cache. Now I think this is the same cache. Okay. Let's see here. For current project, use SQLite for storage. Ooh. Migration SQL scripts is embedded in the exe using the new Go embed. Fantastic. So still only a single exe to deploy. That's handy. That is very handy. I need to use SQLite more. I've gone back and forth on using SQLite quite a bit, actually. I think the only reason that I don't use SQLite as much is because, especially for stuff like this, using SQLite would actually be fine, and it would probably make migrations to a real data store, like a real database as a data store, a little bit easier, potentially. But I just don't like bringing SQL into the application just to have SQL in the application. But then to that point, though, like Persistable, we probably wouldn't have had to futz with all the file shenaniganery. With Persistable, if we had SQLite backing it, it would have just been, well, yeah, you create SQLite either in memory or as a file, and then you still have your in-memory side, but you persist it down to a SQLite file. You know, really, Frank, you're starting to convince me that I need to just convert Persistable to SQLite. It would give me an opportunity to show off the database SQL package. Maybe we'll do that for another stream, or depending on how this stream goes. Hell, oh boy. when you're working through something and a good idea comes through and you go, but now I want to work on that idea. Software. Okay, so now I'm curious. So we have a metrics cache here, and I'm assuming that that's the same cache. So I need to check that. So if I go into main.go, let's see here. So this is the metrics cache.
So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
Hello, Shito. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. Good to see you, mate. And thank you so much for the 8-month resub. Holy shit. Has it really been that bloody long? I can't fathom that. I can't fathom that it's been, what is it, 8 months, 9 months? I think I saw 9 months from somebody. Hey, holy shit. But hello. Let's see. This is the metrics cache. This is the metrics cache. It's the same cache. Yep. It's the same cache. Okay. So we're going to rename this to data store. For various stream metrics, poll state, etc. Now the problem is that, oh, did I not make that a proper... Did I not make that a proper... No. No, I totes did. Bool. Turn false. Turn cache.put. Oh, that's not right. That's not right. Yeah, no. We'll just do that. Been so long already. I hear you. I hear you. 2020 was weird. 2021 is getting better. I would like to think it's getting better. But one day, someday. Have hot backup support. Go on. I am curious. As in, like, you can hot swap a backup into the app? That would be really cool. Yo, that would be really cool. Must create file cache. Okay, what's going on here? Cache, file persisted. Cache.file persisted creates a cache, which returns this thing, and that's persistable cache with a clear. Am I losing my mind? Clear. Oh, it's because of that. Yeah. There we go. We're back. We're good. Back to main. Data store. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't know why my brain twisted on that a little bit. Yes, that was one of the reasons why in the Java ecosystem I liked H2 so much. H2 kind of sort of filled that same niche for me as SQLite, although at the time I never really understood that H2 and SQLite were effectively the same thing. Whoops. Although I think it was that I liked H2 more because H2 had SQL emulation. So you could emulate MySQL syntax, Postgres syntax, etc. But let's see here. But I'm on a party and just want to say hello. Cousin bought a new house, so next time. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for stopping by, mate. It was good to see you. Hope you have fun, and we'll see you next time. And absolutely, take a look at the code and just blast the shit out of my DMs, because there's a lot that's changed. So, Enjoy, mate. Thank you so much for stopping by. Admittedly, really, Frank, that is kind of why I built things in this particular way, is so that we could just go, oh, well, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put this over here now. I like my database being able to be backed up and restored without it being a giant to do. Like, I like PG Dump. Let me put it that way. PG Dump, by the way, for anybody that's not aware, is a tool. Just to reset the mind frame there just a little bit. Yes, hello, hi, I am a child. But I think I actually did this in Kubernetes a good bit when I got started, before people started yelling that that a database in Kubernetes is a bad idea. Like, a database in Kubernetes is a bad idea, and yet Redis in Kubernetes is considered a good idea. So data store must create file cache. We'll probably change the name at some point, but it's fine. So we initialize the bot with that data store, and we also initialize the server. There it is. We initialize the server with the same data store. Let's see here. Make sure the cache is the same as the bots. Just to call that out. And now we're back to the pull handler. Excuse me. Case in point of how bloody tired I am. Yeah. All right. So if the poll is running, return a 409. Otherwise, we reset the poll state just in case, and we do an s.bot.start poll. And start poll is literally just, there's a Boolean now. You have flipped the flag. Although, what I do want to do as well, we did want to, oh, that's right. We wanted to end the poll after a particular time. So for this, I think I wanted to do duration time dot duration. I think I wanted to do something like this. So poll running equals true. And then we wanted to do a time dot after. How did I do this? Oh no, I forgot. Do I have time dot after anywhere? I do. Yeah, there it is. So we do a go func select time dot after blah, then we do a thing. Now this is where I get in trouble. Go func, and this is going to take a bot. So we're going to do something like that. And we're going to do a select bot and duration time dot duration. Time dot after duration. Bot dot close poll. And close poll is not a function, so we're gonna add a close poll here. Don't know what happened to my voice there, but hi. Let's see here. Bot dot poll running equals false. And I think I'm actually going to make this unexported. So only the bot can close polls. We don't need to return anything. And close poll ends an active poll. We don't really have to be fancy about the logic around that, I don't think. So what I've kind of added here, spawn off go routine to close the poll after the given duration, because that is something that we need to take into effect. How long is this poll going to last? Which, for testing purposes, I probably could just hard code this to like 5 minutes or something, or 3 minutes. Server poll handler, start poll, and here we would need a let's say 3 minutes. 3 times time dot minute. Eventually we'll accept this as a request parameter. To do accept on request. Somehow. How? I mean, we're probably just gonna accept a minutes field, something like the response or the request here would have like a minutes int yeah. You know, let's go ahead and add it. We know we're gonna do it eventually. JSON minutes, and then we'll omit empty for now. And I think that allows us to not require it. So that'll do all that. S.bot.start. We can just do rec.minutes equals 1 or 3 to do accept on the request. 3,000. Oh, no. No. So for here, we would need time dot duration. Was it time dot duration? Rec.minutes times time dot minute. Yeah, there we go. Cap. So that will happen eventually. If the poll is running, do that. Start the poll. Start poll. Does a thing. Sets poll.running equals true. And then it spawns off a Go routine that after the given duration, it will close the poll. And just as a note for folks, I am one of those people that prefers to pass in state to a Go routine. And I can't remember. I think that there were cases where it was okay to not do this, but I do it all the time as kind of like a safety net for myself. So like, instead of directly accessing this bot and this duration, which may or may not be available in the current scope, I prefer passing them into the function for direct function scope. Now there's an oddity there, which I'm curious if I'm about to run into with the bot.close poll, but I don't think so, because we're passing the reference to the bot. So that should propagate properly if I'm reading that. I think I'm reading that correctly. But that right there, like what my brain just paused on, is exactly why I pass state as function parameters to Go routines. I basically make sure that I have a reference, a proper reference within the scope of the Go routine. I ran into this a lot in Spark. In Spark, you have oh god, this was a long time ago. This was before oh no. what did they call them? Spark. It was before data frame. What did they call it? Oh, what did they call it? Oh, I can't read that. Oh no. God, that's gonna bother me. That's actually gonna bother me. Data frame was the abstraction over this, whatever this is. Oh, what do they call it? RDD, there we go. Resilient Distributed Data Set. It was in the noggin, I just couldn't remember. So when I wrote Spark RDDs, which is like the old school low level API for processing data in Spark, I used to not do that. In Spark, more or less, you create a data frame. A data frame is kind of sort of like a Scala. Well, let's just do this. You're the wrong one. You would do something like what is it? Spark context dot text file. Text file would give you access to a text file, and then from there you could do dot map line. You could do Hector HSC. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How you doing, mate? Doing a slight divergence for old Spark PTSD. But let's say that something here, say you had a, usually it was something like, yeah, so it'd be like def pop lines, and then you had, say, foo was a Boolean. And then you did something with it. So if you did this, so let's see here, let's do S, and then it would be $line space $foo. I don't know why you would do that, but yeah. You would get a weird null pointer exception. And the null pointer exception would be on foo. The reason is because foo is in the scope of this function, but by the time that this is actually running, this map, this like inner function, that function has been serialized to something else and has been sent to the server to be processed by a Spark worker. The context of that foo variable is gone. Like that memory is not there. So there was a way to pass that in. I can't remember what it was. It was something like spark.context foo foo equals foo, something like that. But yeah, that gave me an appreciation for what is effectively explicit scoping. That's a very long tangent to say I prefer to have state be passed in as functions and then injected as arguments when you spawn off the coroutine. Hello. Welcome to PTSD with Medj. All right. So, with that spawned off, after a particular duration, we're going to close the poll. I do probably want to add a logger.info closing poll. Did I call it? Nope, didn't. Okay. And then we close the poll. Actually, let's co-locate this. I like my logs to be co-located to the actual logic as much as humanly possible. Okay. Okay, so now I think that takes care of at least starting the poll. Starting the poll, getting that infrastructure running, blah, blah, blah. Let's also do a logger.info here of Starting new poll. Just so we can have some observability there. All right. Yeah, I think that's everything. So now I think we can write the handler. So with the handler, how are we going to do this? Because I'm now questioning the necessity of adding a specific event. We're not really gonna have a poll answer event. We're just gonna have chat messages. And in this particular case, the chat message, the chat message would actually be everything that we need. So, event is an all-encompassing model for events that the bot understands and processes. Now, if that be the case, let me just yoink that real quick. And we're gonna go to bot poll handler, register poll handler. We're gonna register that, close that, look something like that. Yeah. Register poll handler. Poll answers. Collects poll answers from chat messages. You like that? Okay. So, a couple of things. Number one, if bot.isPoll running, return. Just exit early. Exit early as fast as humanly possible. Then, if the poll is running, we have two things to do. Number one, we need to collect the answers, but number two, we also need to make sure that one person can't vote multiple times. So, I'm thinking about the logistics of how to handle that. If you were using a cache, you could TTL it, which we are using a cache. My thinking is that I would do something like bot.cache.put. Here you would do evt.sender and then something like voted. That's probably not what we would actually do, but you get the idea. All right, because it doesn't have a cache. Oh, it's called metrics cache. No, data store. Yes. WA. Yep. So now we call it data store. This is not how I would do it though, because the problem with this is that I don't really have a good way of collecting like everybody that voted and then clearing that out. At least I don't think I do. And put doesn't have a TTL on it, of course. The other thing that we could do is we could do just a concatenated list, which is not great. It's especially not great when you start thinking about if you had a number of users. That's where things would get quite batty. So I was thinking, like, would we just do something like so Shito 86, comma, really frank, yeah, Hector, HSC, blah blah blah. If we had this, then what we would do, strings dot contains so if not string dot contains the user, then we could add their vote into the mix. I'm going back and forth on that because there are a couple of things that are like firing off as warning bells in my head. So in order to do that, we would have to say voted equals bot.datastore.get voters. And then get is a string or an error. If error does not equal to nil. I think the only way that this actually fails is if the key is absent. Okay. Starting to recognize a potential need for a get or default. Get or default would kind of be a combination of get, if not or if absent, put, and then return that value. Otherwise, get. Very, very handy. Which is more or less what set does, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so in this case, we wouldn't have an error. Well, no, we still potentially would if error does not equal to nil. Then we do logger.error. Fail to fetch voters from bot data store. Oops, do like that. And then this would become voted. Ooh. This would become EVT dots, not recipient, but sender. So here we would put voters. Oops. Whoa, rare. There we go. Here we would put EVT sender to ensure that we don't have the same sender voting multiple times. And then we would also do kind of want an append. Bot.datastore.append would look something like poll EVT dot message, although that's dangerous. So I'm just adding so many new APIs to this cache right now, but maybe I'll just treat this as pseudocode. So voted is we go to the data store, we get a particular value if present, and we can, so if it's present, grab it. If it's not present, default it to empty string. Then we check that string for if this the voted group contains. Ooh, there's a thing.
Oh, good. My slow clap processor made it into this thing.
I think I know who that is. Hee. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the lab. How are you doing? Let's see here. Then we can do. I'm wondering why that didn't show up on this. Streamlabs, you are bloody useless. Holy shit. Sorry, I saw it on the stream preview in OBS, but I have the alert box widget set up down below, and it's not doing the thing anymore. Streamlabs, you make me sad. We're just gonna get rid of that and move that over there then. Let's see here. So we add, if they are allowed to vote, then we add them to the people that voted, and we add their vote. Now with the vote though, we need to be a little more careful about the message. Ooh, okay. Now this is where I have to decide whether or not I want to allow basically if I want to be lax about the processing of messages. There we go. If I want to be lax about that, or if I want to be more strict and say like, no, the only way that you can vote and the only way that I would be able to identify a vote is if it's just the number. So I am going back and forth on how I want to do that. Yeek. I wish I could put it to vote. That awkward moment when I'm like, oh wait, I have a vote. I have a poll. I can put it. Oh wait, I'm actually trying to make the poll work. That awkward moment when. I think for the sake of simplicity, and for the sake of my sanity, I would want the message to only be the number. Message should just be a number. And within range of answers. Otherwise, reject as a vote. Now that's something that I realized that I missed, because we made the poll, or we created the poll, but we didn't actually store what was asked and the answer choices. So I think we'll have to come back to that. But I think I am going to enforce that the message should just be like if I start the poll and one of the options is 2, the way to vote would just be to do that, to just put the number. If you put anything else in the message, like if you did because reasons, that wouldn't be counted as an answer. mostly doing that for my sanity, and also doing it to ensure that I don't accidentally count a vote for a message that has a number, but you didn't actually intend to vote, and now you can't vote, and blah, blah. That was the other thing that I was kind of wishing that I had. Like, if I had the ability to have a complex data type, such that the data type is the person who voted and what their vote was, you could change the vote. But that's a layer of complexity that I'm not entirely sure I want to take on right now. So, for the time being, we'll just leave it at this. Now, Golang has regex match. Pretty sure. Yeah. Syntax. Reg expression match string. There we go. So we would want that. So match. And my match. Yeah. Find string. I feel like although I guess. Now, how do you extract those is my question. Find all string. Oh, providing a non-negative integer as the second argument of these functions will limit the number of matches. Okay. Which in our case, we do want to just match the first. Well, no. I guess technically, if you, God forbid, if you had a poll with 12 options. Yeah. Okay. So, expression.match will return whether it matched, but that's not quite what I want, because I want to extract. Ooh, how does one extract a group? Is that possible? Could have sworn that that was an option. Find all, longest, match, replace all. No. Huh, okay. I mean, I guess I could just do a very simple, like, if it matches. Yeah, so we could just do like a match string. The regular expression we'll get to. This would be evt.message. Now maybe we don't need to do a regular expression. Maybe we just try to parse it as an integer. Stricom.8i, maybe? Let's just do that. Ah. Case in point of sometimes there are multiple ways to do something. Whether or not one way is the right way is relevant. Relative. My brain is like thinking through this, my brain is twisting into ways that prevents me from speaking English. I say as if I can speak English normally. I'm pretty sure most of you know that I can't speak English normally. Yeah, no, the American can't speak English. What a surprise. Yes, so after all of that, I think all we really need to do is vote error equals, if error does not equal to nil, then in this case, we just return assume to not be a valid vote. So we ignore it. But if we do receive a valid vote, then this would be strconv dot I to A vote. Voila. Now, what are you complaining about? Oh, too few arguments. That's because I didn't pass the evt.message. There we go. Okay. So, if a poll is not running, yeet. Otherwise, attempt to convert the message from a string to an integer, because the assumption is that if it's just a number, then it should be parsable to an integer. So if it's not a valid integer, we assume that that's not a valid vote. Yeet. Next, we say, okay, has this person voted? Which realistically, you could say that we could do this check early, but I feel like checking the message is a lot faster in the average case. I'm stipulating there, but I'm fairly confident that A to I is a lot faster than datastore.getterDefault. Especially if the data store ends up on the network. That I think is when we really start to notice that. Okay, so we do need to decide, do we create a getter default? I kind of want to create a getter default. But we attempt to get the list of voters. I'm going to rename this to already voted. If strings.contain already voted evt.sender. If the sender already voted, if the sender hasn't already voted, append their vote. And now append in this case is really just an abstraction over bot.datastore.get poll. Well, I feel like I should change this to poll answers. So this would be answers. And then in this case, if error is equal to nil, we have the same problem. Failed to fetch poll answers. I also just realized that I did a thing that I normally don't do. Make those log messages smaller. And then here we would do a put to poll answers. And it would be strings dot. Oh, we don't have an append. Or join maybe? Nah. So in this case, it would be poll answers. Something like that. I don't like doing that too much, but it's fine. It's fine. Now this is complaining. This can error out, so same thing. Ooh, didn't want to do that. Error equals this if error not equal to nil. Same thing. Put poll answers. Something like that. All right. Now, what does this complain about? Undeclared name, poll answers. Oh, right. I called this answers. I like having this over here. V2 here. Let's delete that. Appended. Do something like that. No new variables on the left side of right because we've already used error. Okay. So getter default doesn't exist. We did expand the append function. I went back and forth on whether or not I wanted an append function in the cache, because append is really just like it's get, it's append, and then it's put. We could make this a helper function, and that would more or less encapsulate a lot of like these types of things, but give me just a second. I need to go and grab something to drink because I ran out of coffee. So give me just a second. I'll be right back. And I'm back. All right. More coffee. I started to do a thing where just to promote like more movement throughout the day, I don't bring the coffee coffee carafe upstairs anymore. I leave it downstairs at the coffee maker. So that way, if I run out of coffee and if I need more coffee or if I feel like I need more coffee, I actually have to get up, walk downstairs, grab the coffee, then come back. Unfortunately, that has kind of screwed me a couple of times in like if I'm in a long meeting and it's like, oh no, I could really use some coffee right now. Oh no, it's downstairs. But I would say the average benefits outweigh the cons, all things considered. Okay, so just doing a quick check. So check if we're running, check the vote, if they've already voted. If none of that is true, now I do want to invert this though. So if already voted, if strings dot contains already voted vt dot sender return can't vote multiple times. Otherwise, we're in the what would effectively be the success case, and we can delete all of that. Valid vote, append their vote. So first, append their vote and note that they voted. Okay, so we stored that they voted. We grab answers, the existing poll answers. We append their vote to the answers as just a common delimited list, and then we put that back into the cache. Okay, so before I go off into this next tangent, get or default. So get or default would look something like this. Key string, default value string. It would still return an error because if this was a network store, then we could still run into network errors. But get or default would be just a shortcut. And so if I go to persistable, we have get. And sorry, that wouldn't be an error. That would be, no, it would still be a string error, which is fine. So get or default. Key string, default value is a string. Okay. So this would still be string error. If key not present, put the default value and return. Okay, so this is more or less this, but in a slightly different context. So entry okay equals this would be cache.cache key. I'm going back and forth on whether or not I want a proxy call to get. I think I'll keep them separate. So if not okay, we'll do a put of key default value and then we can return default value error if one exists. Otherwise, we return entry.value nil. If key doesn't exist, put the default value. And then we return. Just to make that comment a little more readable. Okay. I'm so going back and forth on the the whole append idea. Because append would actually lean on getter default. So this key value separator. Ooh. Well, no, because the entry accounts for multiple values, so that's okay. So append, if we had an append operation, append would append the given value to the given key via the given separator, which is more or less a let's see here. Value equals, or this would be entry cache dot getter default key empty string. This would be entry error. If error does not equal to nil, errors dot wrap. We'll do like that. And then what we want to do is entry dot value. Oh no, right, because this is just a string. So then here we would say return cache dot put key, and then this would be fmt dot sprintf %s, which is just so weird. This would be entry separator value, and that's more or less the abstraction. So it's an abstraction over getter default, which getter default would always return a value. And then, so this would actually need to be if entry equals empty string, then we do we just do a cache dot put key value. Otherwise, we do an append. Yeah, that's fair. Boop, 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 boop. So that linting error, by the way, this is just reinforcing the Go mentality of like, don't use else blocks if you really don't need to. Which, if your last statement is if the pattern is condition return value, then just unindent or outdent. Do they call it outdent? Never seen that before, I don't think. Okay, so getter default. If we have a network error, then we return that error. If entry is the empty string, then it's just a simple cache.put. Otherwise, it's a put with the entry and the value separator. As I typed that logic out, I convinced myself that I wanted the append function. So append. Appends the given value to an existing key value. If not present, it delegates to a simple hash.put. So now that we have that, put append key separator and this can return an error. Which I don't quite know why I'm not doing this. There we go. Key default value string, key value string, or key separator value string. Now I do have to be careful about that. Want to make sure that I did actually write them in that value. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Separator. Key separator value. Okay. Key separator value. Now let's go back to the bot poll handler, and we can do this. Let's see here. Strconv I. This will be down here. So this would also be an append. Do like that. And then same thing here. Bot.datastore.append. Poll answers. And I do know I'm remembering that we need to change the key in the server. Just haven't gotten to that part yet. Separator and value. Oh, I did that wrong. Strconv dot I to A vote. Error does not equal to nil. Append points. So now that just becomes that. And now this is wrong. Yeah. I had a brief moment. My brain just kind of went, is that the syntax that I want? Voters, comma, sender? Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to read it as like, okay, append voters, comma, sender. But in my head, I was also originally reading it as append to voters, sender, using the comma separator. So those two API designs kind of conflicted in my head a little bit. But Okay, so before I actually forget, we want to do poll answers. Poll answers is empty. And in fact, we can just do a clear on poll answers. So we're saying reset poll answers, start the poll. And now here, because we do an append for poll answers and we've accounted for the lack of that key, that gives us more or less safety to just say clear it, then append it later. Okay, so I'm running out of time. But I want to see what's missing. So we are missing checks for check if vote is for a valid answer. And I think to do that inside of the bot, whenever we start a poll, start poll. There you are. So we need a duration questions answers. Question is a string and answers is a slice of string. So we store reference to poll contents for handler use later. Now, how are we going to do that? So I think what do I think? What do I think? Do I think? Sometimes. So what I was thinking here is that in order for me to know whether or not I actually have a valid answer or not, I could do one of two things. Either A, and I want to store the state of the poll so that somebody could say throw a command into chat, exclamation point poll, and that would show you the current poll and the current answer options. That would more or less be just to call it out, that would be more or less a stopgap to us not having an on-screen element. But you could also consider it just a feature. You don't do an on-screen element, you just do a chat poll. I feel like a chat poll wouldn't really work as much if you are in a stream that is much busier than mine is. But options. Many options. All right, let's see here. I'm not gonna have time to do this. Damn it. Oop. I was in the wrong window. Man. For now, we'll just do this. We'll just do poll question and poll answers is a slice of string. Which means that this becomes a thing, starting a new poll, bot.poll question equals question, and bot.poll answers equals answers. And then close poll would also reset this, so poll question equals no poll. No poll running. That way, if they hit the command, the result will just be no poll. Bot.poll answers equals an empty slice. Okay. That would at least give us, I think, poll handler. So we could do bot.poll answers. Okay, so if vote is less than equal to 0, or vote is greater than bot.poll answers plus 1, or sorry, not poll answers, length of bot.poll answers plus 1, return invalid vote. And we're not really we could message back to do we message back to the user saying it wasn't a valid vote? I don't think so. I'm actually going to rescind that, because somebody could just be putting a random number in chat for a completely different discussion. The vote doesn't necessarily take over precedent of the chat being a chat. So I think we'll avoid doing that. And so what this allows us to do is just check, okay, how many answers do we have? Actually, no, it would just be len. It would just be length of poll answers. So it'd be, if we had 3 answers, it would be the only valid options would be 1, 2, or 3. So if vote's less than 0 or vote is greater than the length of poll answers, and we return, it's not a valid invalid vote answer. Otherwise, we can do the thing. Okay. With all of that, I feel like I could even add the poll handler, like if strings dot has prefix poll evt dot message bot dot send message poll message for bot dot poll question and bot dot poll answers. And what that is just a func down here, poll message, which is the question as a string and the answers as a slice of string. And this will return a string. So poll message formats the question and answers of a poll into a bot message. Well, into a bot chat message, more or less. Which really, this would just be return fmt.sprintf %s %s, and then this would be the question, and then strings.join answers, and then a separator like that. Right? What is you complaining about? Oh, I goofed up here. So that's what. Yoink. So we can kind of take responsibility for both. Yeah, so we can do like that. I was going back and forth on whether or not I wanted the pole to be a command, like if I wanted that to just be in the command handler. But I think it made sense for something that is hyper specific to the poles to co-locate that into the pole handler. I may or may not go back on that later, but that's roughly what I wanted to get done. Oh, we've done a lot, and now I'm kind of curious if everything works. No. Error is not a field. That's in bits handler. Okay. So I was running into that before stream, so we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that on stream, but I will go ahead and call this today because I have to take off. But that was a whirlwind of trying to get that poll going. So I will attempt to fix these error messages. I'm not entirely sure why that's happening. But I'll fix those error messages. I'll get that hopefully to a running state, and then as for the next stream, we'll start off by doing some testing on the poll to see if we are actually able to do polls. So, thank you, really, Frank. Appreciate it. And then at some point, we will probably explore the idea of whether or not we look into SQLite or not as a replacement, because the more that I look at the bugs around the file, around the persistable cache, the more that I'm questioning its usage. But that will depend on my tolerance for the complexity. Which, to be fair, I've introduced my own complexity, so whose complexity is worse, mine or SQLite's? Mine that I wrote in a weekend? SQLite that's been written over, what's it been now, 15 years, 20 years? SQLite's been around for a long time. Actually, we'll end the stream on that. SQLite. Initially released in August of 2000. Almost 21 years ago. Damn. And on that bombshell, again, thank you all so much for stopping by. It was fantastic to see you all. We are making some fantastic progress on this, so I think polls will actually be at least MVP complete, and then we'll work on the on-screen element for it. But until next time, thank you all so much for watching. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.